Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Fundraising BIDness Talk. I'm Patrick Cyber. I'm your host and lead auctioneer at G Events LLC, based in beautiful Beaverton, Oregon. And we're so excited you could join us. This is episode 66, Route 66. And Route 66 takes us through the beautiful state of California, I believe, at some point. I don't know if it goes near Sacramento or not. But our guest today, I am so honored. This guy, I just get so fired up, whether I see him posting or I get a chance to visit with him in person. Is just a ball of energy and always a good time, and an incredibly talented benefit auctioneer. Please welcome to the program today, Mr. Freddie Silveria. Freddie, what is happening, buddy?
Patrick, I was getting chills here as you were sharing that. I was like, man, no, this is awesome.
Yeah, no, it's a good time. I mean, it's funny. I think back to a couple of years ago, and I didn't know if live stream was one word or two, and here I am, doing a weekly show and chatting with my buddy Freddie, who I wouldn't have met if it wasn't for the event business and auction business. And we got to spend some time in San Antonio last year at the BAS, it's just I'm excited to see your success, and it's just been phenomenal. You're doing great stuff and raising a lot of money for incredibly deserving organizations and making an impact in your community, but also making an impact in our industry as you share what you've learned and how you do it with the rest of us as benefit auctioneers. So welcome. I appreciate you taking the time to spend some time with us today.
Of course. Thank you for the opportunity. This is so cool.
Yeah. And hey, as we get started, folks, I see people are starting to tune in. Please be sure to say hello and tell us where you're coming in from. Love to say hello back. And as always, feel free to ask questions, folks. If you post a question in the comment box, whether it's on subject or off subject, we don't care. Freddie and I are pretty flexible. We would be happy to answer your questions. So chime in and let us know what you do. And then, as always, want to let everybody know the replay will be available up again on fundraisingbidnesstalk.com. And let's chat about what's going on in the industry, Freddie. This is a good time and an exciting time in our business. You just got back. Let's back up. Tell the audience, Freddie, how did you get in the benefit auction business?
Yeah, that's a good question. I never intended to be a benefit fundraising auctioneer. That was never the plan. There was nobody in my family. There was nothing. I started as a youth motivational speaker. I started speaking in schools and middle schools and high schools about just treating each other with respect and kindness. And that's always meant a lot to me. I wanted to make a difference. And I think that's how getting into auctioneering kind of happened. I was wanting to make a difference, and I was doing that in schools, and I still do it. I've been doing that for like 10 years. I spoke with 100,000 teenagers across the country, and I love that work. The challenge is I only do it really about 50 days a year. And so I had 300 days a year to figure out what was I going to do? So I did a bunch of odd things, and I started volunteering with some nonprofits. And then one time a nonprofit was looking for an auctioneer as I was, volunteering on their board and helping out with stuff. And I said, heck, I'll do it. And one thing led to another. I did 1 and 2 and 3. Then I went to Worldwide Auctioneer College, and then the rest was history. It all kind of took off from there. So it was all stemmed around wanting to make a difference, and the auctioneering stuff. It just happened because I needed something else to do.
Yeah. Well, that's funny you say that. I mean, I had a similar track, right? Background in the event business, running golf tournaments and helping nonprofits. Golf's really unique that way. And I got roped into volunteering as an auctioneer and knew nothing about it. And a mutual friend of ours, Kelly Russell, really well thought of, well respected benefit auctioneer. She gave me the Auctioneer for Dummies, right? For an hour. And I went up and had a good time with it. It was great. And we're both worldwide College of Auctioneering graduates, and big shout out to Paul C. Bear out there, a legend in the industry. Jill Marie Wiles. I think you spent some time with Jill Marie too, right?
Yeah.
Jill Marie has been a big mentor of mine. Her and her husband Tim Stewart as Jill Marie just lives less than an hour from here, 30 minutes from here or so. So that's a really cool story. And so today you're still doing the motivational speaking. How many benefit auctions a year are you involved with, would you say?
Yeah, I do somewhere around 65.
Yeah.
So yeah, I might do 70 this year. Still got a couple more that might come in at the last second, but yeah, about a little over 60 or so each year.
Yeah, and I want to throw it out there while we're getting started, because I know people are going to want to know, but they can reach out at freddiesilveria.com to catch up with you. Is that the best place?
Yeah, that works. You can find me
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. Yeah, so check out Freddie there. FSA Auctions is his company, and doing some phenomenal stuff. So hey, Freddie, one of the things I mentioned a minute ago was BAS, which for those who don't know. We have some auctioneers tune in. We have some nonprofits tune in. Benefit Auction Summit is what we call it, and that you've been on the task force, kind of leading that the last couple of years. But it's really an opportunity for us as auctioneers focused on purely the fundraising benefit business to come together and do some continuing education, but also the camaraderie and the sharing. You just got back from it. I was unable to go. It was in San Diego this year. Tell me what you saw.
Yeah, definitely. The benefit auction specialists, the summit is really kind of all the best and brightest fundraising auctioneers from across the country. They come together. They spend a couple days, and we basically are just talking shop, and we're just talking about, hey, what's working for you, and what are some challenges, and what are you seeing, and what are some trends, and how can we all be better at what we do? And so it's really kind of a 3 or 4 day time where we can really get energized, share ideas, and all get better. Because you and I and all of us out there, if we're all getting better, we're raising the level of professionalism in the industry, and giving our nonprofits and our clients the best we can. And so the summit was phenomenal this year, and we briefly had a chance to chat a little bit before the show, and I was basically sharing with you that this was the best one ever. I mean, and I'm not just saying it because it's the latest and greatest. I mean, it's honestly like it was one of the best ever. We had phenomenal speakers and content, and workshopping and sharing ideas. Just phenomenal. I mean, we kicked it off with one of the greatest benefit auctioneers in the country. We had Letitia Fry, and she shared with us really the power of how can we volunteer more with our nonprofits in terms of with what they are doing. We're obviously there for hire to give our professionalism for the stage and for our consultations within the entire spectrum of the event, but how can we be more involved in the process of just learning more? If it's your local food bank, how can we go just understand more about the food bank and see the logistics of the day to day, and just really submerge ourselves to be better? We had another speaker that spoke to us, another benefit auctioneer who shared some phenomenal ideas, Jim Nye, the auction guy. He's down there in Southern California area, and
Right.
he shared some phenomenal things that has helped him and his career, and a lot of us could learn from him. He's a legend. He's been doing it for so many years, and he's great at what he does. And then we had outside speakers that were super solid. We had the director of development from the Coronado Schools Foundation, which was down there in San Diego. She shared with us a bunch about from the nonprofit side of things. How can she help us as fundraising auctioneers as we partner with the nonprofits? How can we be better? And just so many others. So I walked away energized. I was talking to our good friend Tim Keller over there, benefit
Yeah.
auctioneer on the East Coast, and we had lunch on the last day, and we both were just like, "Man, Tim, I'm leaving energized. Like, let's hit the fall. Let's hit it. Let's just go. Let's go."
Yeah. Well, and if anybody knows you, which everybody does, the fact that you're energized is a little bit scary, right? Because you got more energy than most of us combined, I think, in the industry. So, that's phenomenal. And I think that I was so disappointed I couldn't be there this year because of some conflicts, but I was with you in San Antonio and I felt the same way when I left. And one of the messages that I really felt strongly about was the positive energy within our industry and within our community, as how much people care about helping others, and the fact that not only are we sharing with each other, but you mentioned it also, bringing in outside speakers. There is an incredible um, passion for learning from others. Yeah, I mean, just disappoints me I wasn't there. I know it's hard for our audience to imagine, a room full of auctioneers actually listening to anybody. Uh, but but it does happen. It's not just a room full of oxygen thieves, as I like to say. It's it is positive. But I think the other thing is, and it's really not very well known sometimes by some of our clients, right? You're very good at saying fundraising auctioneer. I say benefit auctioneer, fundraising auctioneer, consultant, things of that nature. I think in the last couple of years, Freddie, correct me if I'm wrong, I think our value to our nonprofit clients has grown immensely because the landscape of what we do has changed so dramatically through the pandemic that, uh, a guy like yourself, I mean, how many virtuals did you do during COVID?
Yeah,
150? I mean,
80.
yeah, I mean, you did a ton. And so if somebody in the nonprofit world had a question about, how to make those successful, well, they better call their professional fundraising auctioneer, because all of a sudden it was more than bid calling, right? Is what and I think we've been trying to promote that for many years, that we are fundraising consultants, but I don't think that has ever been more realistic and so understandable as it is now. And so, I say often that when this all came down in March of 2020, I was overwhelmed with how our community of auctioneers came together and really started doing Zoom calls and different things to share what was happening in the industry. What was your biggest takeaway as you think about what's going to happen in the future, Freddie? Uh, what are you seeing in your market, the Sacramento area and other places? I'm sure you travel quite a bit for events. Tell me what's happening in the Sacramento area and around.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think the first thing that everybody's going to want to know is, are we doing it in person? Is it hybrid, or what's going on? And so, for the most part, I'm seeing in-person only events, but I'm seeing some variations of it. And so, these are kind of just rough numbers, but I'd probably say of all the events that I'm planning to do in the next 6 months to a year, I'd probably say about 25% of them are hybrid, where there's a live stream component where people at home can watch a simulcast, a live experience of what's happening in the room per se. So about 25% are doing that. And that number is probably getting lower and lower as the days go on. However, what has also changed is this was coming on a little bit before COVID, but COVID escalated it, and that is the use of the mobile giving platforms and how they're being used even more so for the fundraising events. So, for example, a common trend that I'm seeing in a lot of events is the silent auction. If there is one, most of that is going online. I'd say probably over half of the in-person events only, their silent auction is online only. And it's also open anywhere from a week or so before the event. So let's say our event is next Saturday night. Well, next Monday, the silent auction might start opening for people to bid on silent auction items online. And then it closes the night of at the event. But it's also what has dramatically changed in the same vein of mobile bidding platforms is marketing. The marketing, and you were just talking about, how us as auctioneers, we're so much more than a bid caller. I'd say the amount of bid calling that I do in an entire year is less than 1% of my job. I mean, people say, you're the guy that talks fast. Yeah, but for like a very small percentage of the entire year, because most of the year is talking about marketing, talking about sponsorships, talking about how do we get, a special appeal, a paddle raise to be the most successful possible? How are we getting the right people in the room? How are we attracting those people? And how is that happening with our board of directors? How are we energizing our board of directors to, continuously want to give their very best to the nonprofit and evolve and not just do the same thing over and over and over, but how can they be better? And so I feel like I'm kind of getting onto a preaching moment, but
Oh, no, absolutely.
it's just the truth. And, talking about where we're at, it's the marketing is totally changing. And that's predominantly into that digital realm of emails are getting better. They're getting more concise with videos, photos, quick links, getting rid of a lot of different steps to the process so that our donors can very easily click a link, register, check in, and, start donating and bidding to the nonprofit they care about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the embracing of technology, um, not only by our nonprofit clients, but also by our community of auctioneers, combined with the audience. I mean, I think the learning curve here, as everybody started doing Zoom calls and things of that nature, has changed things dramatically. I feel like our audiences are a lot more receptive than they ever were to online components. And so you touched on several things there, Freddie. No shock to any of us. And I want to touch a couple of those. Uh, First and foremost, the online auction. I don't know about you. I'm pretty adamant. I don't. One of the things that we saw in the online auction is that we received more bidders, and one of the things that allowed us in this society today, where we talk about inclusivity, it allowed us to make our events inclusive, and that all that someone needed to do to participate was to have an internet connection. And we no longer restricted folks to have to buy a ticket to support a cause. Right? In the past, you used to have to buy a ticket to support it. Now with online auctions, you don't have to. I also find that having that 24/7 window for, I always say a minimum of 7 days. I love to see if the highlight event or the showcase event is that gathering event on a Saturday night. I will go as far forward as the Friday a week before, 8 days, right? Because I like to see us have a solid time for folks. Nobody can have an excuse for missing an event when it lasts for 7 or 8 days, right? As opposed to if I tell you if I ask you, especially with your calendar, if I ask you where you're going to be on a Saturday in 2023, you're probably booked, right? But if I tell you a week that all I need you to do is go online, you can find that time, right? So I think we've really done a great job of minimizing the barriers for people to support our cause. The other thing that I love what you said was, 25% of your events are having some type of streaming component. And I would say I'm seeing similar. Ironically enough, though, I have some clients who are never going back to in person. That they, and I don't know if you've seen that, but I've seen that with several of my clients because they look at the risk associated with renting a venue, with having the manpower to sell tickets, and all those things are energy that they expend on an event that doesn't generate them any revenue, right? That it still comes down to the night of to do it. So are you seeing some of that too? I saw the thumbs up. Are you seeing some folks staying with the virtual format?
Yeah, some. I think what I'm even more so seeing is a combination, and
Yeah.
that is, where you'll have your in-person gala, but there's also, maybe 6 months later, a virtual only gala per se.
Okay.
And so it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of what I'm seeing is that there's there's the virtual events have a time and place. For the right organization, it makes sense virtual only. For a majority of the organizations, I'd probably say it doesn't make sense for virtual only. And because part of the gala is just the donor stewardship. It's
Right.
bringing new donors to the nonprofit and getting an opportunity to mix and mingle and meet people in person, which, there's so many different reasons for a fundraising event. It's not just
Right.
about raising money. There's so many other things. But that said, the virtual only is definitely here, and it's here to stay in a huge way. I mean, I've now partnered with Sutter Health Foundation, which is a major hospital organization in Northern California. They have decided virtual only is for us because, and I'm seeing that a lot with healthcare and hospital organizations, is it's a no-brainer. I mean, it's just the world that they're in, and in terms of with what they do. And so, yeah, they had such success with the virtual only event that they're like, we have to do this. But here's the other thing: virtual only makes so much sense for certain organizations because certain organizations have donors all over the world. I mean,
Right.
I partner with an organization, Africa Hope Fund, and they have sponsors in Canada, donors in Costa Rica, donors in Europe. And so they've never been able to come to an in-person event, which has been held in California. But now with this virtual only concept, they have watch parties, and it's been a huge success. I mean, they were fundraising hundreds of thousands of more than they had before because they opened the door to so many other people. So
Yeah.
a lot of
Well,
things.
you hit something that I really want to draw some attention to, right? And my good friend John Flashner, okay, Flash as we affectionately call him, is works for an organization called the Villages down in Florida, and they provide this incredible I, lodging. I'm going to just call it a lodging experience, and I'm sure Flash will text me and tell me I didn't say it right, but uh, they provide this incredible lodging experience for kids who are having wishes granted, right? So yeah, phenomenal organization, and they have a incredible board of directors, but their board is all over the country, all over the world. And so him and I have had conversations, and fast forward to my point here, Freddie, is I think we created the virtual event to replace our gathering event for events that were already gathering, right? I mean, all of a sudden we were told we couldn't gather, so we created virtual, and we had phenomenal success. Now we can gather again, and a lot of people are moving away from it, and that's okay. I believe there is a whole market out there that never had a gathering event because it didn't fit their audience. Their audience was not in one location. Think about alumni of a university. Think about a healthcare facility or a national organization that is trying to have individual market events. And when you think about the energy that takes, wouldn't it be better? And I think this is really has an opportunity for us to reach a group of nonprofits and organizations that maybe never considered having the type of events that we've been creating here the last 2 years, right? I mean, how do you feel about that?
Oh yeah, definitely, 100% for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's an incredible opportunity. So the tools that we learned in virtual and how to mix and mingle. I think the jury's still out on what people call hybrid. My personal opinion, I define hybrid a little differently. I say it's the best practices of pre-COVID combined with the best practices of during COVID with our virtual environment, and then custom designing it to fit your organization, right? Whether it's a live stream, nobody wants to watch anybody eat a rubber chicken dinner, right? I mean, we're not. You've got to create an environment that that both audiences are entertained, okay? And that's I think there's some magic in that. When you think about hybrid events in your market, you mentioned give me a sense of what your ideal hybrid environment looks like. What does that event look like?
Yeah, definitely. I got an event coming up in about a month. The event is at a golf course, so it's going to be in kind of a golf course environment. They're going to have a 3 camera setup with a AV technician. It's going to man the different cameras, and then we're going to have watch parties across the country. This is an event for breast cancer that supports a healthcare facility. And there's watch parties. There's one in Montana, there's one in Texas, there's one in North Carolina, and I think a couple other ones. But yeah, how that's going to look is, um, the folks are going to be on a mobile giving platform. They're going to be donating to our special appeal, bidding on live auction items that are actually being auctioned in the room at the same time. And yeah, it's going to be a huge success because there's all of these groups across the country that are connected because they have family that have had breast cancer that have been treated at this healthcare facility in our area, and they care and want to support. And like you said, with the alumni of schools, this is the family and the grandparents of other people, and they want to support too. So yeah, we've done quite a few hybrid events already. They've been going fairly flawlessly. Flawlessly is what I think I was trying to say. But yeah, it'll be exciting. Hybrid's fun. It's a whole new world.
Yeah, it is, and it's you hit on a really key element there that I always drive home, and it's you're using professionals, right? Not only your fundraising benefit auctioneer, but your audio visual. I mean, this is not something to, I think you and I have both been involved in events where the garage band brought their PA system and set up in the gymnasium or outdoors, and it sounded great until the room was full and we started using it, right? You can't make that mistake anymore, right? I mean, the value of having professionals help you with this stuff just could not be more important.
Well,
It's something that I've really talked to folks about a lot more.
I've got a funny slogan, and I think your viewers will get a kick out of this. It's called AAA Insurance. AAA, and that stands for, in this order: audiovisual, auctioneer, alcohol. If you've got those 3 A's, and I say in that order, I do believe that AV is the most important piece. Your auctioneer is very important throughout the year. The consultations and all of that is very important. And then you need somebody that's going to have, they're responsible to be the voice of the mission from the stage. But if they can't hear you, if the guests can't hear you, and the audio's is mumbling, or you're just using a house sound system at your local convention center, a lot of things aren't built for a high performance fundraising event. And so the number one question I always ask when I'm starting with a new client is, what's our audio sound like? What do we do? Who's our audio professional team? Who did we hire? And
Yeah,
that's so important because we can't do our jobs without good audio. And,
yeah,
and I don't
absolutely.
I don't even sell audio. I'm not even making money on promoting this. Like, there's
Yeah, yeah, no, you and I both.
important.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's crucial, and you know what? A shameless plug. I do it all the time in my show, but these are my guys right here, the AV department, and I work with those guys a ton, and Todd Campbell and John Hasty and the whole crew over there. I mean it makes our job so much easier. Would you agree? And I know
100%.
you've got some go-to folks too. It's so important to me. I love what you said, Freddie. It's so important to me. I've actually put it in my contract that I have the approval power over the AV. Okay, so it must meet my standards because it just could. I don't. I just like you. I don't have any financial incentive to book one group or another. I don't get paid by any. I'm not on endorsement contracts or anything else. But at the end of the day, like you said, if people cannot hear us or see us, right, it won't work, right? And so yeah, the power of AV is crucial. one more thing I want to say about that format that you talked about with audiences around the country. And this is something that I think, I remember preaching this for so many years prior to COVID, that we always needed to right size the room. Okay. And what I meant by that is that more bodies does not mean more money. Okay. So if we fill a room with people, doesn't mean we're going to raise more money than if we fill the room with the right people. And if we have like-minded, philanthropic, with capacity in the room, I'll take 50 people over 200 that are not there to support the cause, that are there for the party, right? And what we've seen in this new environment, Freddie, is that I changed that slogan a little bit. And the other side of it is that more bidders means more money. So not more bodies means less money or doesn't mean more money, but more bidders means more money. And so when I hear the format that you just described, supporting this medical facility, that's more bidders, right? And I'm going to take it a step further. I think it's an incredibly powerful tool for that organization, for them to be able to touch those folks in other markets and to have a specific time and a specific place for people to tune in and get a touch, if you will, with that organization. Because I don't know about you, maybe it's because we're in this business, but we get I get inundated with solicitations from nonprofits. And I'm not complaining, okay? I'm okay with it. But I think about donors out there and how they must get inundated with communications and how many of you actually read and things. But I think when you can have a central event and you can bring people together, whether it's through the computer screen or on their big screen TV or it's in person, we have an opportunity to really tell a story that maybe we weren't able to tell in person in the past, right? Because of the virtual format. So it's got a lot of opportunity, and I can't wait to see. I've been amazed at how creative organizations have been with the new formats. Would you see the same?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, it's kind of the adapt and evolve. I mean, yeah, I've loved to see the different organizations, how they've evolved, and just done different things that have been super, efficient and effective.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of mistakes along the ways too, right? And once again, there's the power of hiring a BAS, member of the NAA, is that we've heard those horror stories from around the country, haven't we?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it comes with experience. When the organization hires us, they're looking for a professional that, has been in a lot of different situations. And, just to really throw a little nugget in there that might help some of your nonprofit folks is I just had this happen yesterday where there was an organization that had sponsors and the sponsors got 10 tickets or, a table of 10. And what I share with the nonprofits is I'll say, hey, look, talk to your sponsors, try to get a guest list a month in advance. And that's always challenging. But, what I've learned is to share with whoever was the key person that paid for that sponsorship to say, hey, if you're struggling for any reason filling your table, let us know. We'd be more than happy to be able to fill that table for you, because the sponsor, they don't want to look bad having 8 seats that are empty, and they're struggling with all the other things of they want to support the cause but trying to get people to show up. And then we want to be focused on, like you said, get the right people there. And so a lot of times the sponsor will just make it a staff outing party and bring all the staff members, which is great, but we're also there for a fundraiser and we need people, like you said, more bidders. And so just that little nugget can be so helpful to our nonprofits, just to go back to the sponsor and say, hey, thank you so very much. We don't have all of your guests yet. If you need help, we have a waiting list of folks that would love to attend our event and they'd love to sit at your sponsored table. So let us know. that is what I've learned is so many times sponsors are so grateful because they're not necessarily going to ask that. They're just struggling to fill the table. And when the nonprofit comes back to them and says, "Hey, I have a solution to help you with your challenge of filling the table," they're like, "Thank you, fill it."
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to take that a step further. This is a real sensitive subject with me right now. Because as you know, my background in event production and sponsorships and things of that nature, it's something I've given a lot of thought to over for many, many years. And I actually guessed a few weeks ago, AJ Steinberg, who runs Queen Bee Fundraising out of Southern California. She and I were talking about this specifically, and I've started advising clients, don't necessarily include a table with all of your sponsorships, right? Uh, and she was wholeheartedly agree, because one of the things we saw in the COVID world, right, when we went to virtual, was we had a lot of success selling sponsorships because they were a lot more valuable, quite honestly, right? The exposure that we could give to a group, and one of the things you touched on earlier, you said the increase in marketing and the power of that marketing, and to be able to showcase those sponsors in your marketing. I mean, I just posed. I'm running a golf tournament. It's a similar situation, and we signed a new sponsor yesterday. And I went on the social accounts for that organization, and we posted out welcome to that sponsor. Well, it was very powerful, right? Getting back to this table concept, though, one of the things we share a lot recently here, Freddie, is that we talk about, this is your sponsorship package. We're so appreciative of your support. I want to extend an invitation. If you would like to attend the event, we definitely have hosted seats for you. And if you can think of folks that would, in your circle, in your audience, in your peer group, that would be motivated to help our organization also, we would also like to host them. Okay. And if we extend that invitation, we can kind of make sure that those folks understand we're not looking for seat fillers, right? Because the seat fillers is going to hurt your event. I believe, and you tell me if you won't see the same thing, I believe there's a diseconomy of scale to in-person attendees. If we get folks in the room that are there just to be at the room because they're a guest of their attorney, they're there as a perk of their work, whatever it might be. Okay, they didn't show up to raise their paddle; they came for the alcohol, the third in your A's, right? It becomes okay to not raise your paddle in the room, as opposed to when everybody is raising their paddle, there is some peer pressure that, hey, I want to be a part of the in crowd. I want to raise my paddle. So having that right-sized audience is incredibly crucial. And you're right on, Freddie. I think, I say it frequently. COVID took our Etch-a-Sketch and shook it up and down, right? We thought we knew how to do fundraising events and fundraising auctions pre-COVID. And yeah, there were some minor tweaks and changes that we were doing on an annual basis, a new game or a new whatever. But COVID really took it and erased the whole screen. Okay. And so as we move back to the next evolution, or move forward in the next evolution, not back. We're never going back, Freddie. Never going back. As Jill Marie says, can't go back in the bottle now. Is that we have an opportunity to change things. And this is one that I think our nonprofits can really, really benefit from, is helping to right size that room. And it doesn't mean giving away tables to people.
Yeah.
It's good. It's going to be powerful. Hey, Freddie, I've taken a lot of your time today. You've got an event this week. Hey, let me ask you this. I noticed you've got because you do a great job of promoting the events you're involved in and helping those nonprofits, get the word out in their community. And I noticed that you're doing a fair number of events through the summer. Now, maybe that's part of the Sacramento market. I don't know, but it seems to me I've seen a change here recently. I know I've done a few events already this summer, got a few more before the end of the summer. The season has changed.
Yeah. This has actually been the first summer where I've had quite a few fundraising events. I was surprised because you're right. Typically in the summer, things, in the past were, a little bit quieter because people are on vacation or whatever they're doing. But yeah, I mean, it's been pretty steady, about one a week throughout the summer. And I've been surprised. It it's been great. I mean, I think, and the other side of it is there's a lot more outdoor events too.
Right.
And in California, the challenge for us, this is on a personal thing, but the challenge has been fires and smoke and hot and 100-degree weather. And frankly, we've had a really nice summer.
Right.
It's been 80, 90 with no smoke and a little breeze. So us
Yeah.
Californians are living the dream down here.
Well, it's funny you say that. I just did an event a couple weeks ago in Sisters, Oregon, and which was one of the reasons I couldn't go to BAS San Diego. But uh, it was an incredible venue outdoors. We were on a very large ranch and small group of folks, about 150 people in attendance. But what an incredible atmosphere! So I guess the word I'd get out to our audience is that don't the etch a sketch is clean. Even with scheduling, think about when you're scheduling. I know I see a lot more weeknight events than I did previously. That was something I was really adamant about during COVID, and with virtual is move them off of the weekends. And a lot of folks are staying with those weeknight events, right? You're seeing the same thing.
Yep. Yep. Seeing a lot of, I just did one last night. Last night, what was that, Tuesday night? Last night was Tuesday. It was a small little Make-A-Wish Foundation event. Yeah, it was a big hit. Tuesday night. Who would have known?
Yeah, yeah. Well, at the end of the day, right, we have so many more tools in our arsenal, right? With the online auctions, there's so many different ways for folks to participate. Um, the night of the week is I think people are more sensitive, maybe a little bit more possessive of their weekends today than they were pre-COVID. A little more selfish with their weekends, want to spend more time with family, do their own thing. And so, in our world, I think weeknights are a real opportunity for a lot of organizations. Freddie, before I let you go, is there anything you want to share with the audience? I want to put it up there again. FreddieSilveria.com is where you can find Freddie. His company, FSA Auctions, is doing phenomenal work. But book early, baby, because Freddie's already booked out to what? How far out you got events? 2025, 26? What?
Oh no, I am incredibly grateful. I mean, this has been one of the biggest blessings of my life. You and I get to live the dream where we
Yeah.
help nonprofits. I mean, and I am incredibly grateful. Every single day, I pinch myself, and I'm like, man, this is the best thing in the world. There's nothing else I could want to do. And you know, I I I worked like 14 hours yesterday. I had like 6 Zooms and a meeting in person, and then I had an event last night, and I don't feel like I worked a minute, and it was the whole day. And I'm like, this is awesome. So
No, no,
don't tell
hey,
anybody about this.
yeah, no, in all sincerity, Freddie, you are right on. We are very, very lucky individuals to be able to be a part of this industry and to be able to help others. But as much as it's a blessing for us, Freddie, you're really a blessing for our industry and for the nonprofits that you serve. And I can't thank you enough for making the time today to visit with me a little bit and share some good words, because the whole concept here with our little visits on a weekly basis is let's talk about what's happening in the industry and give back a little bit. Let people understand what's working, what's not working, and you've been an incredible asset today to make that happen. So I appreciate you taking the time, pal, and hopefully we'll get together here sometime soon. Right?
Yep. I'll see you soon.
You're gonna hopefully you'll be back up in Portland doing some inspirational speaking. I know those kids out in Oregon City were fired up about hanging out with Freddie, because our audience, if they're new to Freddie Silveria, they have no idea. You got to give me one of those signature screams. What's that scream? That's what is yes? What is that signature scream of yours? I see it on all your videos. I love it. What is it? Give me one.
I think you just did it. Patrick, do it again.
Yeah! Freddie, thanks, pal. Keep being the blessing that you are. Can't thank you enough, pal. All the best. Folks, tune in every Wednesday. We're here right here at noon. And if you missed an episode, you want to rewatch this one, fundraisingbidnesstalk.com. Catch up with me at geventsllc.com. Until next time, folks, live it up, as we like to say. Bid high, bid often. And remember, the last bid always wins. Have a great day, everybody.